But with passwords, I definitely write them down somewhere. Now, don't keep them with the machine itself. Keep them somewhere else, okay? One of the suggestions from security people now is to put them on a piece of paper and keep them in your wallet or whatever. But don't have written on there what the username is with the password, and so then just the fact you've got a piece of paper there that says the password's whatever system, it doesn't do anyone any good if they get a hold of the passwords because they don't know where you're using that username. Because if you are normal today, you've got a number of different passwords and you're not going to remember them all. Maybe some that you can remember. I can keep up with the one here for school because I use it every day. But I do still have it written down so that I do forget on it. And like my home email one, I've got it written down because I may forget on it, because you can, if you check the box to say stay signed in, then you're not having to put it in, but every 2 weeks or so, and on some of the systems you don't have to put it in hardly ever. And with the way Google wants to remember, on Chrome wants to remember passwords on sites, you don't have to put password in again either. That if you don't have it written down, if the cache gets cleared on your machine, I knew I forgot something. Your password's not there anymore, and if you haven't been putting it in, and I've had students tell me this before, that they've done that with Banner or whatever, and then, or with Blackboard, particularly Blackboard, and then all of a sudden they don't know what the password is because they haven't put it in a couple of months, and Chrome forgot it. So do record it. The other one is on Blackboard, which isn't as big for, well, it is, for you to make sure you're aware of what the link is for Blackboard. Okay? Because probably most students are going to the school website and clicking on Blackboard at the top of the school website. The school website can be down, okay? And Blackboard still be up, because they're two separate things at two different separate locations. Because Blackboard's sitting somewhere else in the country. It's really not even controlled by us. You can still get into Blackboard even when the school website's down. So do make a note somewhere on your part. And I don't remember, I should have it out there, and well, that doesn't do you any good in Blackboard. But it is GNTC. I have to go to GVTC to do some other stuff. GNTC.blackboard.com. Okay? So, which is the way I'm normally going into it. I'm not going through the school website to get there. So, I don't go to the school website very often. So like last week when my picture appeared on the school website, I didn't even know it for 3 days that it had been out there. So somebody told me my picture was on the school website, and I went out and looked, and they were right, it was there. Because generally I'm going straight. If I got to go to Banner, I do go through the school website. Although I think banner.gntc.edu, and I just said com on. Okay, it's com on Blackboard, yeah, that's right. Banner.gntc.edu will get you right to it. So those can be tricky. But like I say, you're probably out there carrying around, needing with 10 or more passwords that you use on a regular basis. If you're not, you will be as you get to using the internet more and more. So those of you that aren't using it a whole lot yet, you will be as you do more things and learn more on it. You're going to have more passwords. In my case, I'm probably a little more extreme on it, although there may be one or two of you in the same case in here. But I think I've got 25 different sites that I'm trying to keep up passwords with. So, varying on that. And that on a normal day, I'm probably going through a number of those because I'm going to school one, teacher tube, my home one, Blackboard, Shutterfly, Facebook, and I don't get on there a lot, but I'm on there at least twice a week posting for clubs that I'm in. I guess those are the big ones, or there's something else that I get on too, and I'm not even sure. Oh, YouTube, since I'm putting y'all's lectures out there on YouTube also, now got to remember that one, which is the same one obviously as Gmail, which I'm on that one once in a while too. So there's a bunch of them out there. So just be aware on that, but like I say, keeping it on your phone was a good price on it, okay? But again, I wouldn't put your username completely spelled out there, or figure out a way that what you're doing with passwords. You can also figure out a system to make them unique to each site, but still be a system you can remember. So that I've got a password that I've sort of built, and then I sort of put the site name into the midst of the password. But then you have to keep changing them. Like the school just made me change again today, and I think they're making us change every 60 days now. On the
changing the system?
But that's for me logging into the school system, which is different than y'all's. So I thought it was 90, but it appears to be 60 now, because it seems like I just changed it real close. Most of the security people now are saying don't make people change your passwords too often. There was, and you'll find some places still that make you change password every 30 days. Security ones are now saying that doesn't work real well because people just swap passwords around and such. When they're having to change it that often to try to remember what in the world a password is, or write it down and keep it right by the computer, which is a security violation, etc. Because they can't remember their password, and then making them complex. And in some places you don't even get to create your password. It generates a password for you, which is really ridiculous because you get this strange thing and you have no way to remember what it is, and they're going, you're supposed to remember that. So that security is now leaning, this is security overall in the world, okay? When I'm saying security there. People, experts are saying just have people change it once or twice a year, instead of changing that. If you make them change too often, that you defeat the whole idea of changing. All right, we're on to Word now. So we're going to spend a couple of weeks on Word right here. So now we're starting into what you were told this course is about, that you were going to learn about Office in here. Well, actually we started last week with Outlook, but the things that you were probably told the course covers primarily is what we're doing now, although the other stuff is part of it too. Hopefully that y'all are all pretty well caught up on everything on it now so that you can keep moving along. Because we have covered a number of things there that we jumped through pretty fast there. With the Outlook, file management, the internet, computer concepts, and there may have been something else. But now we're into Word, and we're going to look at Word and the file management, the internet, and then probably this, as far as work with Word, are probably the three things you're going to use the most after you get out of this class. Okay? The rest of the stuff you may or may not, depending on what you exactly go into, how much of the other areas we covered you may or may not. Obviously, some of what we covered in Outlook, that's going to be stuff you'll use also, depending on the email system, that some of those things change, obviously, and that you will use email, but you may or may not use Outlook unless you go to a larger organization. So that you'll probably use one of the other products out there instead. But now you know Outlook. So with Word, that in chapter 1, they're going to take us through a number of things here, and I think we got 1 week or 2 weeks on this. Whoops, wrong thing. Due dates. All right, so we got 1 week on this. So we got today and Wednesday. And then we got chapter 2 next week. So they're going to take you through and show you basics of Word in this chapter. And pretty much once you finish doing the stuff in this chapter, you can do your basic documents and all of that. So for some of you, you already know how to do all of the stuff right here, but pay attention anyway. Some of you may not, because you may not have used Word, but probably you've at least got some acquaintance. But whether you do or not, we're going to go from scratch. Okay? That's interesting. So the very first thing is that they should tell you about how to create, save, and open documents. So if you start Word up, and so I've already started Word that I went and found it in my list there. And remember, you can put it down on the taskbar just like we talked about in file management. You can do other type of things. And so then if I come to here, when I get to here, that I can go ahead and I can create a document at this point. Or I can go in and open some. And it's going to remember what previous documents you have been into on this machine. And when I showed somebody something on this, that I was in those 2 documents off of my thumb drive. Okay? I was going, why are those up there? And now I remember. And that just reminds me. Looking at that, I've got a bill I've got to send out to Swainsboro. A once a year bill for their domain name. So, to create a document, if I want to use one of their pre-designed one of their templates, which I think we will get in the next chapter, I could choose a template where it's going to give me, where it's already laid out in that format for me that they've pre-designed. We're going to go to blank document, and that just gives us a blank one to start with. So that normally, that's where you're going to normally go, but you could use these other templates that they've got designed there. At this point, there's our document. is a blank piece of paper. Okay? It's ready for us to start typing in the body of the document. There's a header area up here, which we can get into. There is a footer area down at the bottom of the page. However, it doesn't show those to you there, but they're there. Because actually, if I go up and click above there, and I double-clicked up the top, you notice that I'm now in the header area, and I can type a header to apply, something that's going to apply to all of my pages. So I'm going to click back down in the document, so we'll see that later. So, double-clicked and moved around. It's already got margins set up for me. We'll see later that you can actually change those. Okay? So it's got a page sitting there for you to type with the normal approach. I think there are inch margins around it or something like that. Okay? By default for you. But it's standard margins on you that you're set to roll. So that we can just start typing right there. Well, except the machine is a little slow there on responding to me. Okay. So now we've got something nicely typed there. Okay. So then once you do type your document in, you can save it. Now, it is also going to, the newer versions of Word are going to also auto-save on you as you go along the way. So if all of a sudden right now somebody took out the power pole in front of the school and the computer went off because of that, it will have been saving every minute or two along the way, and I'll just lose a little bit of stuff when I come back up into it. Does everybody follow on that? That I can get back to it even though I haven't saved. But you still need to save regularly, even though it doesn't auto-save. Don't trust the auto-save. Okay? Although the auto-save is nice. So to save it, we'll go to File. Well, we got two choices. I guess really three choices, but I'm going to just tell you about two. And maybe some more. One is you can click the diskette item up there. That first symbol on the first line up at the very top. It looks like a old floppy diskette. That's what's always been used for the save symbol. So that's what you originally did save to back in the 80s. Okay? And then when you went to pretty much saving to hard drives, we still use the same shape. And now, when a lot of times people are saving to the cloud, we still use what looks like a floppy disk as the save symbol. You can save it to wherever you want to save it to. Okay? To your thumb drive, the cloud, wherever. So I can either click that save button up there, or I can go to File, and I can do, you've got a choice of save and save as. Now, since you have not saved this document yet, and we didn't open it up, we're creating it from scratch. At this point, the very first time, save and save as do exactly the same thing. If it's a document that you've opened up, or it's one you've already saved, save and save as do two different things. Save, in that case, will save it as the name that you already have it named. Okay, save just saves a new copy of it out there at the same location where it was saved. Save as will let you change the location or the name or the name of the file. Does everybody follow on that?
Say that last part again. Save as.
Save as will let you change the name of it and or change the location where you're saving it to. Okay? I use both of them regularly, save and save as. Because sometimes it is where you go in and you've changed a document, but that's the same document that you're intending, so I do save. Sometimes I'm actually using that document as a template for a new one. For instance, we saw up there where several of my bills were listed up there. If I go to bill you, that you've had me do computer work for you, and I go to send you a bill for it, I go in and grab a previous bill, go in and make changes on it of what the current date is and what the current amounts are, and do a save as a new name of, if it's a different organization, put that organization's name, or if it's the same organization, change the date of the bill to a new date that I've saved it as, so I can find that bill and still find the old bill. Does everybody follow on that? Likewise, I could do the same thing with letters to people or writings that I do sometimes it's a modification on it. So save and save as both are important ones for you. But the very initial time that you've created a new document, they both do identically the same thing. So in our case right now, those two are going to do the same thing. They're really going to do a save as. Okay? They even will click save, because save's going to go, wait a minute, I don't know where you want to save this or what name you want to save it as. Everybody follow on that? So it goes to save as. So either one that I click, I'll get to the same place. I liked the old way they used to save in the program before, but this is the way they do it now, so they have a different looking screen. They give us several places that we can save it to. And OneDrive, Microsoft loves OneDrive, that's their cloud storage. This PC, which would be finding a location on this PC. Add a place, because you can actually add more places up onto this list here. Add a place. Or browse, which takes you to a normal, used to be way, and in a lot of other programs, way you're going to save your file that then you'll search on your computer or out there, anything you're connected to, and choose from that. It also tells you where folders that you've previously saved to, it'll give you options for those. Now, remember what I said about what I've been on this machine, which I think I did here in this class. That E was my thumb drive, but my thumb drive's not plugged in there, so there's nothing in E right now. That doesn't really exist, but it goes. I remember he saved to drive E before, okay? So it gives me that option. So when y'all do save as, if you're doing it on your machine right now with you don't get the E drive one up there, okay? Documents and desktop, it probably does give to you, because it likes to default those two to you. Documents is the most common place people save their documents to, okay? And then desktop is where a lot of people will save stuff to also, so they give you those two. Saving it onto the desktop will clutter your desktop real fast on you. However, if it's a document that you use all the time, you may well want to put it on the desktop so you can grab it real quick. But just be careful on how much stuff you put on the desktop. But like I think I've said in here before, if you were to look at my desktop at home, it's completely, the entire real estate is full. And a lot of it is things that I do go to and that I want a desktop shortcut to. My taskbar stays clean. But my desktop has just picked up a ton of clutter on it over basically 30 years usage, because I have continuously upgraded since Windows 3.0, I think, and that I've just done upgrades ever since then. I have not done clean new installs, and so except for when I do delete something off, it stays there. Typically, when I get to here, I'm going to browse, okay? Although, if you save all your documents in documents, you could go to there. I don't save my documents normally to documents. I'll let that one stay a little bit cleaner folder. I split my stuff up into folders where I can find things out there more. The other one is on my computer, because I work off of 2 computers just about every week between my desktop and my laptop, and I've got an external hard drive. I store most stuff onto my external hard drive so that when I plug it into whichever machine is there. But Documents does work as a good location to save your documents. So I can hit Browse. I'm going to hit Browse. And it gives me a Save As box, which here on the left, it just lists everything that's available locations as far as quick access to them. And then it lists my folders over here within the one that it's got me in. By default, it's going to put me into Documents. So it's told me I'm on this PC in the Documents folder. I can change those around up there at the top, that if I want to go to a different folder, I can just click on there. Except with these machines, I may not be able to do much. If I click this PC, it will give me where I can get to others. I can see what all my drives are on this machine, although this drive doesn't exist, but it thinks it does by default, even though you hardly got machine. New machines don't have floppy drives on them anymore, but it still lists that one there. Actually, new machines hardly have DVD, CD drives anymore either. Desktops do, but laptops and tablets don't anymore. And then there's C drive that is there for us, okay? And then it gives us basic folders that Microsoft has decided are places you're quite likely to be saving to. So it's just chosen those up there. So again, there's the desktop, there's the Documents. Downloads, it figures, is another one that quite often people are referencing to, because if you download any files, they go to the Downloads file folder. Music, pictures, and videos, that they equate those with Documents. And actually, all of those are sitting inside there, but they're folders within Documents. So if we go to C drive, and with these machines, that it's a little different than your desktops at home, that you would get more stuff up there than that we could choose to save there. Now, you're going to find whatever folder you want to save it in. So I'm going to back up and go to Documents, and I can do it from the quick access over here too. Other one over here, when you see the little greater than signs, that says you can expand whatever this is. So we could click the greater than sign beside this PC, and which used to be my PC. And notice it gives us all of that stuff that had been over there showing to us a moment ago. And that we can get the C drive from there. Here it knows that we don't have a floppy drive or a DVD drive on this machine. Oddly enough, on the right side, it's not smart enough to know that. On the left side, it's smarter. Okay? If we want it to go to our OneDrive, that should be on the list on here. I guess that's on network. Nope, that gives us all the other machines that are on this network. If you were logged into OneDrive, it would put it on the list there for you also. Okay? Within this PC. That it would treat OneDrive as if it was on the PC, although it's really not. Although it does keep a copy and syncs it. So now, let's look down here at the file name. It will give you a file name by default. What it does is it uses off of the first line of your document and defaults that one in there for you, which sometimes is what you want to call the document. Usually isn't. Dear Mrs. Smith is not what you want to call the document. So Right now, it says LKJ on it because that was the first 3 letters I had. That was the first word I had on there, and it went with that as the default name. Because if we look back at the document, which we can't right here, so then I could just type in what I want to call it. Okay? Now, when you do that, as a reminder back from file management, my suggestion to you is don't put periods in the name, because periods should just separate first name from the extension. The extension is put on there automatically. And you remember I showed you how to go see extensions if you want to see them on your machine. Okay? But default, the extension it uses for here happens to be .docx. Older words use .doc. Okay? Prior to 2007. Actually, prior to 2003, correction. 2003 forward has used .docx. So save it, file type, it says Word document. You can save it as a different type file if you want. There's a drop down arrow on the right side for that. And you can see all the different type formats that it will let you save it into. Prior to 2007, I was right in the first place. They changed part of the stuff of Word in 2003 and part of the stuff in 2007. They changed the format of files and stuff. And actually that goes back to before 97. That's the .doc ones. You could save it as a PDF file if you want it. Actually, if you're using 2013 or 16, prior to that, that was not an option for you here, but you can save it as a Acrobat file. XPS, you're not going to use that one, but that was Microsoft's bright idea of their approach like PDF, but that has not caught on, so you're not going to see that one used. Okay? That's on the list there. A PDF, you could well want to save it in a PDF file. If you save it in a PDF file that's an Acrobat file, then whenever you give it to anyone else and they print it out, it doesn't care what printer they print it on, it's going to look the same. If you save it as a Word document and they open up in Word, they go to print, it could print differently depending on margins that their printer does and stuff slightly different, and your page could come out looking different on their printer. PDF's also not easily changed by them. You could save it as a web page, but don't do that. You can, but don't build web pages really that way, because it will create a ton of extra code in the web page. And I mean a ton of it. If it should be about 5 lines of information in the web page, when it's produced this way from it, it'll produce about 20 pages of code to it. Although I do use that when I'm doing my BB gun match every summer, that when I get given the scores to put them out there quick and dirty, I generate them from Excel, and then I go back over the next month or so as I have a chance and write the pages myself, and I have much cleaner and faster running pages. You could save it in plain text, which isn't going to have any graphics or any of the other stuff you're going to learn how to do in Word in it. The Word XML document actually is the same type of thing as here. I don't know why they do it as a separate one. Open document goes back to the Open Office, which actually can use your Word documents also, which is your free Office out there. It's not Microsoft's, but it's the free one out there. So we're going to leave it as is. I'm going to leave it as that weird name, and I'm going to click Save. Now, you can also put tags in there and title on it, which I hadn't caught that one sitting there before. Which sometimes some other things, looking at it, they'll use the title to give the name of the document. Tags, if it was going to be searched for, that'll give information that if you did a search on your computer for stuff, it can find things, but you normally aren't going to use those. And actually, author name can be changed there too. It's using as the author name there of whoever this copy of Word is registered to at that point, or that the user on the computer. Just picking this one up from the user of the computer. A lot of times you'll see it picks up whoever the copy of Word is registered to. But you can actually type over that and change, and then whenever somebody gets it and looks there in it, they can see who was supposed to be the author, but the author is not always fully accurate. So at that point I have saved it. Now if I click the save button up here, nothing will happen that it appears, because if I click this at this point, it doesn't look like anything happened, but it actually saved it again out there on the disk. Does everybody follow on that? So when you do save, except for that initial time where you're having to put the name into it, or if I'd done file save, same thing would have happened. You would have gone, did anything happen? Yep, it actually did. It wrote it out to the disk at that point. But it doesn't tell you that it did that or anything. So there is nothing that tells you on that. So that tells you that when I told you ought to save regularly, when you type in as much stuff as you're willing to lose, just bump that key up there, that button up there, and hit save, and it's saved. Okay? And that's really the point where you need to save it. How much have you typed that you'd be willing to retype? If you're going to be typing more than how much you want to retype, hit save so that it's still there. Does everybody follow on that? So how often should we save? That will vary to each one of us. She may be willing to type for 2 hours and lose 2 hours worth of typing and start all over again. Okay? Linda may only want to lose 5 minutes worth of typing, so she needs to save every 5 minutes. She only needs to save every 2 hours. But I'd recommend to her she save more often than every 2 hours. Maybe every 30 minutes, but I wouldn't go that long. So just use your judgment on how much are you, and if you're writing it off the top of your head as you go, you're going to save more often than if you're typing from something that was written that you're typing from. So just use your judgment on that, and that's really the point to decide to save it. Okay? Now, we've saved it, so we can close this document if we want, and there's actually a close button here. And at this point, there is nothing in here at the end. Okay? We could have also closed the whole program down, but I want to keep the program open to open another document. So now I'm going to do File, and I can go, and it goes to Open by default. And notice that it tells me today I've worked on LKJ, which is the one I want to go back to. Okay? Or I could go browse and find it where we just saved it. And occasionally this comes in real handy right here. You saved it, and then you go to get something else, and you go to look for that. You were going to send that document to me, and you go to send it to me, and you go, I can't find it. I thought I saved it in documents, but it's not there. Go back in Word, and it will be sitting right here. Go back to it and do a save as, and make sure you know where you're saving it to, that you saved it somewhere else. Okay? So that can be a redeeming one for you right there. So I could click on that one, or I could go browse, and I'm going to just open that same one back up. And it's open again for me. Does everybody follow on that? To open, create, and save. So we've done 1-1. Okay? Now, copying and pasting, and they sort of split that among a couple of places here, but copying and pasting is probably one of the big nice things about word processing. Okay? Copying and pasting from terms from back when you were doing it on paper, because when you used to type stuff, you literally did paste, cut, that you got copy, cut, and paste. And cutting and pasting is what was literally done. Okay? So some of you may remember cutting and pasting. I remember literally cutting and pasting on doing some stuff that you'd have something already typed, and you'd cut it out from a piece of paper and paste it into the other document. Literally glue it on there. So that's why it's copying and cutting and pasting. And copying and pasting. Cutting is where you're going to take it out of a location, and copying is where you're just going to put it again somewhere else, but you're leaving it in the original location. Does everybody follow on that, on the difference from cutting and copying?
Say that one more time.
Copying, you're making another copy of it. You're leaving it where it is, and then you're going to put it somewhere else too. And you can put it a whole bunch of other places. Okay? Cutting, you're removing it from where it was, and you're going to put it somewhere else. Y'all follow on that now? So you'll use both cut and copy. And you can really just use copy if we want it, and then hit the delete key to delete it out of that location. Does the same thing as if you copy and then delete it. You've done the same thing as if you'd done cutting. So, but both are there. Then you're going to go to wherever you want to put it, and you're going to paste it. And you can do that in multiple locations. You can jump between documents, which is where you primarily will use it, but sometimes you actually copy and paste within a document. So, let me come back up here. I'm going to put a little bit more stuff in my document here. If I wanted to take this line up here, because trying to type that line again, and I want it down here, in addition to where it is, I sure don't want to try to type that again, because I'll never get all of those letters correct, right? So, I can go up and click on the beginning of it, and that's with a left click. Just hold it down, and just drag across and choose what all I want to copy. Okay? Go to the end of wherever it is to the point of where I want to copy to. So I've highlighted it now. Right click it, pointing within it at the text within there. And then notice I've got a choice of cut or copy. And actually I've got a paste option, even though I've not got anything to paste right now. And I've got a number of other options. But I am going to do copy. Again, just like save, nothing happened, it looked like, but it really did. It has put it on the clipboard at this point. And you can actually go into Windows Accessories and go look at the clipboard and see what's on the clipboard. Okay? I can then go to where I want to put this line, go to that spot in the document, so I want to put it right there. That's why I left a blank line right there. At that point then, and copy, you can also do, besides doing that right click on it, that if you choose the whole area on it, you can also do a Control-C, or do copy also for you. Okay? To paste, I can go to that location, and then right click, and notice paste is now highlighted, because it's an option there. And I can go, I've got 3 choices of pastings to do. When I go and hover over one of them, it's actually going to go ahead and show it as if I've pasted it there. So you can see what it's going to look like where you're putting it. The 3 different paste options here do have differences to them. This one is going to keep the source formatting of how it's formatted, and we haven't done any formatting to this, so that doesn't make any difference. But if we put colors into it and everything, or change the font size, using the first one keeps exactly that same look to it. The second one will change it into the formatting of the area we're plugging it into. The third one will just put it in as pure text in there with no formatting. Sometimes, depending on what you're pasting, they each do differently. In this case, it won't make any difference because we haven't done any type formats to it. If you're copying from some document or some web page, it really comes to play on you there of which one of those you want to do. And like I say, all you got to do is just hover over them, and you can see the difference between them. In this case, there is no difference between them. Let's open a web page and just copy something from a web page. So, let's, oh, that's a graphic, never mind. Come down here where there's some text. I've highlighted it there. I'm going to do copy. Now I'll go back to my Word document. And if I go here, and in the process, I just removed that other stuff off the clipboard. It only remembers one thing. So everybody follow on that? So once you copy something else, or cut something else, that's on the clipboard, or what was on the clipboard's gone. It's got a very limited memory. Now I'm back here. If I do paste again, notice where it's got the bolding like it did over on the web page right now. If I go to the second one, it actually looks basically the same. But if I go to the third one, notice the bolding part disappeared out of it. Y'all see on that? So, and actually you could copy pictures over into there or whatever, that we could have copied that picture and pasted in there. So you can copy all kinds of stuff. So you can choose whichever one. So we're going to just choose that first one. And so it's in there now. It's still on the clipboard. It does not remove it from the clipboard when you paste. It stays on the clipboard. That's nicer than when we used to do it on paper. But you only got one shot at it to go somewhere else, and you had to go cut again. Because if I come down here and I do a Control V, which will also do paste for me. Remember I said Control C was copy, Control V is paste. I think it's Control X for cut, but I don't ever use that one. If I'm going to cut, I always do the menu one of the right click and choose it. If I'm going to do not paste but cut, I believe it's Control X, but don't hold me for sure on that one.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So,
C and V I can tell you for sure because I do use those regularly.
and V is what?
V is paste.
You know, you have this in your book.
Okay.
Here.
Writing it down is a lot of times an extra way that if you sit there and you write, you can remember it better than if you just read it or whatever. Because there are lots of things I take notes on that people will look at me at times and go, why are you taking notes on that? It's on whatever I'm going. If I write it, I'll remember it a whole lot better. And sometimes you can just sit there and listen to the person and catch it all too.
And what was the last one?
So it's Control X will do your cut. Control C, which is a logical one, copy. Okay?
That's it.
And Control V is paste. And there's a ton of these control characters, but a lot of them I don't remember. Save actually is Control S. Okay? But that one I always just use the little icon up there, or to go to File, Save. All right. So that will give you the copy and paste. Now let's get back to the one we were in there. So you can copy and paste between different locations like I did. You could copy and paste. You could have a couple of documents open and copy and paste between documents or whatever. And like I say, you can go from a web page to where you're going. All right. So that'll get us the selecting text, entering, you just type it in. That actually takes care of the moving and copying text. Now they're throwing ones right there that I don't remember right off the bat. The paragraph I can do, but Shift Enter. Is that? Okay. Good grief. All right. If you do just an enter, you're going to get a paragraph. It's marked it as the end of the paragraph, and it does a spacing between your paragraphs automatically for you by default. And that's what you're normally doing. But if you just want it to go to a new line but staying within essentially the same paragraph, that they're saying, if
Do
you
enter again, if you do enter,
just enter will give you a paragraph change. Goes to a new paragraph. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. I don't ever do the line break ones. That's why I had to look and see on that. And then the non-breaking space, I don't use either. Space, if you want to put space between words or whatever, just put a single space. If you learned on typing before, if any of you were on that approach, they used to tell you to put one space after words, two spaces after a period. In the word processing, just put a space. Okay? Although there are some processors out there that if you put a double space, it will pick it up with a period for you. And on some of your phones, it will do that to you when you're text and stuff. Okay? That it will pick up a period for you automatically off that. So if you're texting, this two spaces still works. So just put a space and then put the next thing. Now, the thing is, if you're typing along and you come to and you put a space where they're saying it's a breaking space, when it reaches the end of the line, it will use the space to decide where to start to the next line for you automatically. Y'all follow on that? Sometimes you don't want that to be broken apart. That you want that space there, but you want it sitting on the same line, so you want it to look at it as if it was all one word. Does everybody follow on that, what I'm saying? In that case, that's where they've said about the non-breaking space, which they said is a control-shift space, if I was reading it right. So, if I did a control-shift space, notice what it did. The ASF that came before that, it dropped down to the next line because it said, I've run out of space on that line of whatever I'm going to type next. And so it moved that to the next line on it because it said that space isn't a space that would break between lines. It's supposed to stay together on the same line. Y'all follow on that? Not going to use that one very often, but they cover that in there, okay? Just a regular space is what you're going to normally use. But if you ever have something, for instance, you're typing somebody's first name and last name, and you don't want to split their name between two lines. You want the first name and last name always put on the same line, then use that control shift space instead of space between their names. Likewise, if you want to have it just drop down a line, because notice now we're in that paragraph, actually right here, that's one paragraph. Those are separate paragraphs. All the rest of those, because I hit enter at the end of those. If I want it to drop to another line, but staying in the same paragraph right here, if I hit enter, it would drop it down right here with the SDFF. Okay? If I want it to literally come right here beside it, staying in, look like the same paragraph essentially, that's where I can do the shift enter. Again, that's not one you're going to use very often. So if I do shift enter, whoops, let's type some characters instead of spaces. You see what it did there? okay? It dropped to another line, but it stayed in the same paragraph, okay? Y'all following that one? Again, one you're not going to use very often. Now I'm going to throw you one that they didn't throw you here that you may well use, that I use occasionally. And that is, you got to the bottom of the page, but you don't want to split some stuff. You've got a different place where you want to split to the new page than where it does, because it will automatically move to the new page just like paragraphs. For instance, my resume. I've got sections, and I don't want it in the midst of a section of my description about a job to split between two pages. I want it to start that new job always on the next page. To do that one, do a control enter instead of an enter. If you do a control enter, it will go to a new page. So I use that one occasionally. So if I want first Pell refunds on a new page, I could come back up here to SDF and do control enter. And notice what it just did. It took first Pell refunds down to a new page, and all that other stuff's back there on the other page. Y'all see that one? That one you're going to use more than those two previous things that they tell you about. Because you're going to have things occasionally you want to page it at a different point than what Word wants to automatically page it. Now I say a resume is a good example on that one. As a matter of fact, well, I'd pull my resume up for you and show you exactly on that, but I don't have them right with me. But y'all see how that one works and what you can do with that. So that gives you one that I think is more useful than their one. All right, let me go back to whoops, yuck. That's the wrong. Should be a way to get out of here. They've not got the friendliest system for us, but y'all have already figured that out. If I hit back, it's going to backwards. There we go. There's what I wanted. All right. If you want to change the margins, well, let's change fonts. Let's do that. Let's hold off on this other stuff till Wednesday. If we want to change fonts, we want it spring here. Again, I can choose an area just like before for copying and pasting. The same thing for if I want to change fonts, etc. If I'm going to change everything I'm going to be starting on typing on into, I can just be sitting at the location. I'm going to start typing it, and I can go set these settings also. So I can highlight spring there that I want to do something different with spring. Instead of doing an Arial font, I want to put it in, let's pick something. All right, we'll put it in Kelowna, whatever that is. It looks different. We're going to increase the size of the print so y'all can see the stuff better. And if you look there, you notice spring is now a weird, different looking font, because it's Kelowna. or however you say that one on it, okay? I can choose to change it back. If I goofed up right there, that wasn't the one I really meant to, there is an undo button up here at the top. That arrow that points backwards, that circle, looks like you've just made a U-turn. It's a U-turn one for you, because you can make a U-turn in your document at this point. So it's really a good one. And so it's going to undo the last thing. And it will undo more things for us than that if we want, that we can use that drop-down arrow beside it. And you can see everything we've been doing back to about 20 actions. And you can undo back to wherever you want to undo to. That can be real handy at times too. So I've still got it highlighted. If I wanted it to go to a different size font, I could choose that. Without clicking on it, all I've done is I'm just hovering over these numbers. Notice it actually shows it to me what it does to it. Y'all follow on that? So I could choose 24-point font because I'm going, that looks right on it. When I put together the church service for Sunday morning in PowerPoint, I use that ability all the time to know if the font size I'm choosing still fits on the screen. Because if I pick too big of one, stuff goes off the screen. So that's real handy that they've added that ability. So now if I went back to choose a different font, notice when I choose each one of them, it changes right there for me. But I really haven't taken effect yet until I click it. Okay, so you can actually look at it and see, does this look like what you want before you choose it? So, did that. If you use these two buttons here, that big A and that littler capital A, what that does is increases or decreases a font by a specified set of points instead of choosing a specific point size on it. Normally you're going to use 12 or 10 as point sizes for normal type. 12 is a little bit bigger. 10 a lot of people will use, but it's a smaller font on it, and some people don't like stuff that small but still use it. So that will let it automatically increase or decrease on it, not choosing a specific one but just going up or down by a certain amount. This one will change the case. And you've actually got a couple of different choices. We can go to sentence case. What that says is the first letter of the sentence is capital and everything else is lowercase through to the period. Okay? You can go to lowercase, which is what we got right now. We could go to uppercase. We can capitalize each word, or we can toggle the case where it starts with one case and then everything else is the other case in the word. So if I go capitalize each word, and I've only got one word, that, notice now spring is capitalized with first S. So that one is handy for you. You can bold it. Right now it is bolded. No, it's not bolded. Okay. So I can bold it, or I can turn off bolding if bold was on with that button or the B. I does italicize, which just makes it a little fancier one on it. You will underline it. And those are all turn off, turn on switches. Okay, if it's on, it turns it off, and likewise. Underline, you actually get to choose different types of underline. You don't have to just go with a single underline. You can go with dots, that solid underline, a double underline, a bolded underline, and you can actually sketch more of them. You can actually underline in color. Okay. The next one, it crosses through it, okay? So it marks it out for us. And then the next two goes to is to change it to either a subscript or a superscript. Subscript says put it down a little low, down at the bottom of the line. So if I subscript it, notice it shrunk it down, but remember I had it so big it doesn't look really shrunk down because I've got the font blown out here. So if I shoot that back down to 10, which I believe was what their fault was, you can see now it is a subscript there. Okay. Likewise, if we did the superscript instead, those just switch back and forth. You can't do superscript and subscript at the same time. choose one, it turns the other one off. Okay? And notice it moved it up top, is not down, is up at the top. So that's like, for instance, when you're writing numbers, or sometimes you actually will subscript in words, that you can, subscripting in words is more likely than superscripting in words. But like if you did 2 squared, that 2, the little 2 that goes, that's a superscript. If it's something down at the bottom, it's subscripting it. You can change the font on the effects of it. You can change the color of the font. This one will actually put a highlight color to it. What that does is that works like using a highlighter pen across it. And so by default, it's got a yellow right there. We can choose whatever highlight color we want. So if you got a green highlighter pen instead, we can do that and see what it does there for it. Or you can do it with a blue highlighter pen. So you got a whole bunch of highlighter pens you can use. This one is the font color. And it's red by default right there. And notice it just changed red on us. Y'all see on that? The little drop down arrow beside it lets us choose any other color we want. There's the standard colors. If you go to more colors, it gives you basically a color wheel type thing, and you can just pick something out of the midst of there. Or if you clicked on custom, you can actually put in the code for the color you want, which means any color is available to you, knowing how much red, green, or blue is in it. Okay? The red underline with the squiggly line to it, that is put all over my document, the red underline that's got all over this thing, and the actual little squiggly ones instead of straight line ones. That's telling me it's seen a spelling error. Okay? That's a spelling error, the red. If you see green, it's told you there's a grammar error, which could be even that you've done double space between stuff. It considers a double space a grammar error. Y'all follow on that? If you right click on them, it'll actually give you suggested different spellings or suggested different grammar. Now, the grammar may or may not work for you, just as a warning to you, okay? Because it may not be using, it wants to use past tense, I think it is, or maybe it's first tense, I can't remember. It wants to use 1 tense on it always on you, okay? You may be wanting it in the other tense, so it may be saying everything should be in first tense, which is really what I think it should be. That's what it does it by default, and you may well want it right in past tense. In which case it's going to tell you everything you've written in past tense is wrong, okay, even though you're correct. But otherwise it's pretty good on it, okay? So it'll catch some things for you otherwise still. It'll catch when you put the same word twice. Now ask me, do you want to delete the extra word? I say it'll catch some other things. So, with my typing, it's caught all kinds of spelling errors here. Okay? All right, questions on all of that? Then Wednesday, we'll cover the rest of the stuff for which actually is the spelling and checking, so we sort of did that one. So we'll look at how we can customize some properties on there and change margins and change the spacing between paragraphs and stuff. We'll do that Wednesday. So there's still definitely some stuff to cover in here. And then if you need me to review back on any of this I did today, we can. But that gives you the overview on it. And really with what I've shown you today, you can type most documents into Word that you're ever going to do. Most of the things you'll ever do all fit into the things we talked about today. Okay? Because that's the things you normally do in a Word document. Now, the other part is to make the rest of the book chapter simpler for you. You do these same things in all of the other products we're going to look at the same way we've just done. So if you want to change fonts in there, you change them the same way, etc. Copying and pasting is going to work the same way. So you've got a good basis for when we touch on get into Excel, when we get into PowerPoint, and get into Access. But it's the same exact places up there on the ribbon, okay? Which is the nice part about the way they've got Office done now. It is fully integrated on it to looking the same. If you go back in time to the earlier versions and when Office first came out, and before that it was just Word came out and Excel came out, it worked one way in one program, worked another way in another program. And if you go to other programs, most of what we talked about today, even if you're into other things, are going to work the same type way. Even when you're in Blackboard, that when you go to type a note to me, you can do the same type things on that note. When I post y'all stuff out there, it's a similar type menu pops up for me up there to put things that I put out there, where I can change font, etc. So it's not just something for Word that we've done today, but it's really across the line on computer. Hopefully out of all of that, you all learned how to do something today, because now I know it's Control Shift Space to do a binding space in there, and Shift Enter to go to a new line in the same paragraph. Now, I know I've been told that before, but I don't ever use them, so I'm not going to remember it. So if you ask me the same thing about those two next on Wednesday, I probably will go, I'll have to look that up for you. But the rest of it I may well have used every night this week in between. All right, I will see you Wednesday. And hopefully I'll get caught up on getting lectures and stuff out there. I've been a little sluggish on that this weekend I went to a Kiwanis convention up in near Knoxville, and so Friday, Saturday was gone with those, and then I was trying to get another class caught up stuff, and I realized I need to get the lectures out there, and that takes a little while, and I didn't get that done.